Can we please hear from Mayor Romero? What an incredible leader. She's a sign of strength and passion, and she represents who we are as a nation. Mayor Romero, thank you for everything you are and everything you do. It's so good to be back in Arizona. You guys are going to make the difference. You will elect the next president and vice president of the United States. You will do that. I want to thank Pima Community College for hosting us, Chancellor Lee Lambert, Damian Klinko, the students, Congressman Raul Grijalvas, there you are, Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick, and the great Gabby Giffords and Mark Kelly. Let's get this done, Tucson. And so here's the thing. You know, first of all, in the spirit of the late, great John McCain, I was thinking, let's start with a little straight talk. Now, you know, there's been some talk about my values. Well, let me just tell you, Tucson, I am a proud, patriotic American. I love my country. And our values reflect the values of America. Our values tell us we have witnessed the worst, the biggest disaster of any presidential administration in the history of this country. Our values tell us that. Our values tell us that we should not be in a moment where over 225,000 people have died in our country. Over 8.5 million people have contracted a virus. When we have known, when we got the information, we have known how serious this is. Listen, there is so much at stake in this election, and I'm just going to start by talking about a few of the things that we know. We as a nation are in the middle of 4 crises happening at once. We're in the midst of a pandemic, a public health pandemic that, like I said, has caused over 225,000 Americans to die. People who, many of whom, died without any family members being able to be with them, to hold their hand, to look in their eyes because of the nature of this virus. Over 8.5 million Americans who now have a pre-existing condition and untold long-term health consequences because of this virus. And the tragedy of it is this. It didn't have to be this bad. It literally did not have to be this bad. Thanks to a fellow by the name of Bob Woodward, we know that on January 28th, Donald Trump was informed about the seriousness of this pandemic. He was told it will kill people. He was told it is 5 times more deadly than the flu. He was told it would hurt people of every age. He was told it was airborne. And he sat on that information. He did not tell you. Can you imagine, as a parent, as a small business owner, as a working person, if on January 28th, you would have known what the president had known? What you might have been able to do, to plan, to prepare? Knowing that even before this pandemic, so many Americans were working 2 and 3 jobs to pay the rent and put food on the table, knowing that even before this pandemic, most Americans didn't have more than $1,000 life savings, what people might have been able to do to prepare, what you might have been able to do to prepare your children for the fact they may not be able to go back to school, what you might have been able to do if you run a small business, to put in place provisions for the fact that you might be out of business for months. what you might have been able to do to buy some extra toilet paper? The American people were lied to by the President of the United States. And let's be clear about something. The President of the United States is also the Commander-in-Chief, who has then as his highest responsibility to concern himself with the health and safety of the American people. And on that count, Donald Trump failed. He failed us. He failed the American people. And you know, here's the thing, Tucson, you know this. There is a very clear choice in this election on this matter. Because you see, on the one hand, you have a Joe Biden who is saying that we know access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. Joe Biden, who together with President Obama was responsible for creating the Affordable Care Act that brought health care to over 20 million people who didn't have it, who said we will protect people with pre-existing conditions. Honk if you know anybody with diabetes. Honk if you know anybody with high blood pressure. Honk if you know anyone with breast cancer. Joe said we will protect you and the people you love. Joe says if we win, we're going to get in there and expand coverage. We're going to bring down eligibility age from Medicare to age 60. We're going to reduce the cost of prescription drugs and premiums. Joe says that we understand when we're talking about health care, you got to know the body doesn't just start from the neck down. It also requires health care from the neck up. So on the one hand, you have Joe Biden, the choice before voters in 6 days. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who together with his boy, Bill Barr, are in the United States Supreme Court right now suing to get rid of the Affordable Care Act in the midst of a pandemic that has killed hundreds of thousands of people over just the last several months. If they have their way, over 20 million people will lose coverage, and the benefits for people with pre-existing conditions will be over. Let's understand, part of what the Affordable Care Act did is it said for women, free mammograms, for all people, free health screenings for cancer, and they want to get rid of that. There's a very clear choice in this election. Not to mention what they did to just ram through a Supreme Court justice because of their agenda to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. I voted no. It was an illegitimate process. Okay? And here's the thing about where Donald Trump has been on the Affordable Care Act. I just have to say, Raul, you know, we've been witnessing the same thing. From the time Donald Trump was running for office, through the time he's been in office, he's had this weird obsession with trying to get rid of whatever Barack Obama and Joe Biden created. Have you all noticed that? Well, we don't need presidents with weird obsessions. I think it's time for that to end. Do you agree? We're in the midst